This is a very important message for African economic emancipation. Before we can think about controlling our economies and ensuring that we begin to become independent of European monopoly, we must understand that the beginning of all African economies is food. Without food, you do not have the strength and energy to work and produce an economy. So the African economy starts with food. And what is beginning to happen in Africa, in the same way that debt has been used to colonize Africa, they are now beginning to utilize seeds and food to colonize Africa. Now, with debt, Africa can choose not to take debt. But with food, which you need to eat on a daily basis 3 times a day, if you get colonized with food, you have no way of escaping that colonization. And what the West is doing right now in Africa is they are working to destroy African seeds so that Africans do not have the ability to produce their own food, but they have to depend on the West to produce food. How are they doing this? They are doing this by creating something called genetically modified seeds and hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds and genetically modified seeds have been created in the laboratory to ensure that they do not reproduce in the following seasons after you've planted the first crop that you bought. The reason they do this is that they use something called a terminator gene or a genetic use restriction technology that makes a seed not reproduce once it's produced for the first time. Not only is that the problem, but when you grow these genetically modified seeds and these hybrids, it's very important for you to understand that a hybrid and a genetically modified seed are 2 separate things, but they achieve the same result. So when you use this genetically modified seed in your soil, once it starts producing flowers, those flowers are able to cross-pollinate or to drift and pollinate organic seeds that are already found in Africa and turn those seeds into genetically modified seeds so that they also have this terminator gene or this genetic use restriction technology to stop African farmers from regrowing their food for next season. So here is the problem. Many Zimbabweans think that Zimbabwe is not able to produce food now because of the drought and because farms were taken from white farmers and given to black farmers. That is not the truth. The truth is Zimbabweans are failing to produce because it used to cost a Zimbabwean farmer, a small-scale black farmer in Zimbabwe, 0 cents and just labor to produce a hectare of food. But today, these Zimbabwean farmers were persuaded by companies like Seedco to get rid of their traditional seeds that used to be able to reproduce, and they were given these hybrids that do not reproduce or that continue to have reducing reproduction until they stop reproducing. Now the Zimbabwean farmer doesn't have that seed that can reproduce, so every season the Zimbabwean farmer must go and buy new seeds. And these hybrids do not just grow, but they need fertilizers and chemicals to make them grow. So the Zimbabwean farmer must buy new seeds every season, fertilizer and pesticides to protect these hybrids. So now to produce a hectare in a village costs a farmer nothing less than $250 to buy the seeds together with the fertilizer for him to grow the food. This is a problem that is causing Zimbabwe to lose its food self-sufficiency. And the problem is that all the PhD graduates, master's degree graduates, and graduates that are teaching our people how to farm in Zimbabwe come from an education system created by the very same organizations in America that are selling these hybrid seeds and chemicals. So that's why we are in a cycle where we continue to produce food unsustainably in Zimbabwe, listening to graduates. Right now, the permanent secretary of agriculture in Zimbabwe, I think his name is John Basera, came from this company called Seedco that is owned by Lima Grain of France, while Lima Grain of France is owned by Monsanto, the American company that is the biggest producer of GMOs and chemicals that are used in farming. These very same organizations work with an institution in which Strive Masiwa was the chairman that is called AGRA, that belongs to the Rockefeller Foundation, together with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to control food in the world and to ensure that Africa comes into food colonialism. This institution was started by Kofi Annan so that they could get the trust of Africans to control African food and to put Africa into food colonization. The main reason I speak against Strive Masiwa is because he is bringing food colonialism to Africa through these GMOs, hybrids, and all this that they call agricultural technology of chemicals that destroys our soils and destroys Africa's ability to reproduce food. These are the things that we are supposed to start talking about when we are talking about emancipation of Africa and economic emancipation of Africans. There is no independence in Africa if your food is controlled by the Americans, the Swiss, and the Germans. Pass this message to every African. Make them understand that it is important to maintain traditional seeds. It is important to eat only food that has got seeds so that you have the ability to reproduce your food. There is no other bigger message about economic emancipation that beats this. And that is why our organizations, Zimbabwe Unite Against U.S. War Sanctions, or Zuauws, is working to preserve traditional seeds and working to promote non-GMO food so that we can begin to grow our non-GMO farmers, organic farmers, and destroy GMO farmers. Do not take advice from Europeans, from white people on this issue of food because they want you to remain colonized by their foods.